last night in a nice way. It's been a while since we had a good, positive, healthy, fresh team meeting in here. Talk about players of the week and all that stuff and all the positives. It's always fun to have one of those. But again, it's a really good Louisville team. But we'll close the chapter on it. And again, we're moving on to a really good Wake Forest team. There's a lot of stuff on tape, offensively, defensively, special teams wise, that we can still do a lot better. It's not like we're a finished product yet. We're still learning, still getting better. Defensively, too many long drives. Too many drives that continue to go that we should stop earlier, execution wise. And then too many 3 and outs. I think we had 7 3 and outs on offense, which is not good enough. A lot of things to improve on, which is great. It's nice to get the win. And then we move on and continue to get better this week in practice. And then let's go to Wake Forest. I'm also hit Wake Forest. Obviously a good football team. 3-3 football team. Got to play on the road, which we've not won a road game yet. So that'll be the first challenge, is going on the road and executing as a younger team, wherever that may be, and against a talented football team. I think. I mean, they played Clemson with 17-14. Again, good team. Virginia Tech, gave it to them pretty good last week, but Virginia Tech, I think that Drones guy, he ran for a lot of yards. I think he threw for 330 some yards, which is a lot of yards. I think that guy just continues to get better every week. Again, that was a good physical football team. So we know who they played, and I think they're they do a nice job. They got a system, and they believe in their system, kind of like we do. Dave Clawson is a heck of a football coach. Warren Ruggiero is his offense coordinator, who I think kind of calls the plays, and with Dave being in there a lot, and Brad Lambert's your D coordinator. So, offensively, a lot of RPOs. So something we haven't faced a ton of is just the run pass and the riding it up in the line of scrimmage and throw it over your head, or throw it slants and digs and 5-yard outs, 10-yard outs, fades. Hit us on a fade in the championship game. On an RPO where it looks like run and everybody commits to the run and they throw it over your head. So that'll be a challenge defensively. And offensively, it's very similar defense to what we are. They're 4 down, an attack front up front, play a lot of quarters and a lot of man free, and they're going to blitz you. Whether it's safety backer from the field, safety backer from the boundary, they'll do a little bit of everything. So stuff that we've seen and stuff that we just got to go out and execute and do a great job communicating. So good football team, and looking forward to the challenge. Questions?
After having a chance to review the tape, would you assess the offensive line's play Saturday night?
Overall, pretty good. Overall, that front, was a nasty front, really. I think coming in, they did a good job neutralizing, I think, up front. And again, there's still fundamental things, a couple ID issues as far as where we're blocking 2 in the run game, but you give up 1 sack, you're getting a little bit better. I'd say, based on what I don't know what their sack total is on the year, I don't know how many they're averaging a game, but I would imagine 1 is underneath their total. And I don't know how many times they got Hartman the week before, but it's quite a few times. So, I thought they did a solid job, and we'll just keep getting better.
Was Blake not playing due to injury, or was that just he made a position change up
Jerry, will you tell him?
Can't.
You
Jerry,
typically will say,
Jerry, tell him.
you'll typically say if a
I
guy's
have no
banged
control
up.
over him. Sorry.
He didn't get beat out, put it that way.
Okay.
So, but he's still a starter in there. If he's available, we'll find out.
On the defensive side of the ball, you guys had 4 fourth down stops, especially the one where they were 4th and 1, they ran right at you guys, and collectively you won as defensive front. Did you see more from your guys up front in this game that you guys have seen so far?
Maybe, but it was also the backers. I mean, it's everybody together. I mean, the D-line can do a great job attacking. If the linebackers don't fit it right and fit it physical, I've been emphasizing just being more physical at the linebacker position, and just coming down and blowing people up and creating a wall at the line of scrimmage. We did a nice job on that. It wasn't just one guy. It wasn't just Dayon who did a nice job to start it off with. But the backers fitting off of them and fitting where you need to be, and not running behind each other, fitting. So I mean, I think it all comes together when you do it that way. But it's got to be like that all the time.
Do you feel like the pace of the chemistry is trending in the way that you want for your linebackers fitting with your defensive line?
Sometimes, I think Bengali's a little rusty out there. So I mean, he was rusty. He didn't play one of his better games, but you kind of figured that was going to happen. He had played the game in a few weeks, so you kind of figured you were going to probably have a rusty Bengali, but you know, I think the chemistry's good. I mean, you know, little by little. Again, every week's a little bit different. That's the thing. I mean, you know, yesterday, you know, Saturday, whatever day that was, you know, you're facing a run and a pass team that's going to do a little bit of both and tricks and all this stuff, and then, you know, the week before you're facing, you know, you're trying to stop a quarterback run, a wildcat offense, you know, trying to defend 11 guys, as I've told you. So it's every week's a little bit different what you're trying to defend. Now you got the RPO, so it's 3 different offenses in 3 different weeks that you're trying to. So you know, things got to go to that way, and we got to execute like we had this past weekend.
And the numbers aren't huge yet, but do you feel like you're starting to turn the corner with the run game? With your own run game?
Yeah, I mean that front's hard to run against, you know, again, you know, we'll do a better job with checking and how many guys they have in the box and doing that. Just you know, with some of the youth we have there, you know, so we'll change some things up as far as, you know, we ran into some pretty heavy boxes, especially on that 4th down and 1. They got everybody down there. We got to find a way, you know, to better get out of a play if we can, based on those guys out, you know, that we have on the field, making sure, you know, it's better to run and play and everybody going the right direction than run and play with some guys going that way and some guys going that way be an issue. So, you know, we'll get better at that, you know, I think week by week.
What did PJ show in practice last week for him to get the bulk of the snaps at safety over Donovan?
Yeah, PJ's, you know, after that Cincinnati game, I think he was a little bit down, but he's just got to love his attitude. You know, and again, all 3 of those safeties, in my opinion, are starters. I'll go back and say that Donovan, you know, Javon and PJ, but PJ just, you know, had a good week of practice. And we're always going to, you know, we're evaluating our players every week. Doesn't matter what you do in practice. You know, what you did the last game, what you're doing in practice, what you're doing in school, what you're doing in study hall, you know, how you treat the, you know, Jules in there in the cafe. I mean, what are you doing, you know, in every respect. So, you know, PJ's he's been doing a good job. He's loud, he's obnoxious, you know, which is good sometimes. He's a beauty.
Did the tackling get better this week in a way that you?
Tackle was better. Still had a couple, you know, there's a couple of those runs where, you know, I think, you know, Devin Davis falls down and we got our head on the wrong side, and we just got to take one more step, but, you know, a lot better.
And when you got a chance to evaluate Christian's play, when you looked at it on film, what stood out to you?
Christian threw some nice balls. You know, he got the ball out quick as well. And he made, you know, good decisions with the ball. I mean, you think about the weather and you think about what that other quarterback did, and what our quarterback did. You know, I like the decision making that he made. I like where he placed the ball. I mean, especially the Bub one and the Kanate one. Those are 2. But he can do a better job on some of his out routes, which, you know, Coach Siggs will fix his feet and do all those things. But I thought he had a really nice day.
That's what I was going to ask you about. I mean, the accuracy is around 50% so far from him this year. The deep balls look pretty good. Is it?
Just to keep throwing it deep, I guess.
Is
Right?
there, yeah, maybe. Is there adrenaline? Do you attribute some of that to adrenaline?
Not really. He's pretty smooth and calm out there. I mean, you know, you don't see him. You know, he kind of is like this all the time. So you're not, you know, you're not seeing the wave. But I think it's really more of his feet and how he's pointed, and I think Coach Siggs can get that fixed. We'll find out this week. We'll throw a lot more, you know, out routes just to see, you know, what he does with the footwork. But I think that's just being a young guy and trying to figure it out still.
How much did the weather have to do with it being under 50%?
I don't know. You know, we had a drop. I mean, hit, you know, under 50%. I don't even know what his percentage was. I mean, hit Bub one time on a pass, you know, right here. Those guys made plays for him, but you know, I'm trying to think of some of the, you know, missed a couple, you know, in the, you know, the out area there, but and then when you throw it deep, you're not going to hit them all. I mean, you talk about being a 50-50 ball, and you know, we threw a couple deep too that were just throws. Some of them were routes. I mean, it's a little bit of everything. I mean, one time Bub releases inside, he should be releasing outside. You know, Christian thinks he's ready to come back, and he runs a, you know, vertical route. So there's, you know, those will get all cleaned up. Just, you know, missed IDs.
What goes up into scheming up those kind of deep shots where you guys get the one-on-one looks you want? Like Christian talked about how on the last touchdown to Kanate, you guys, you know, were prepared for a 0 look to get the outside, get the inside leverage and throw it outside to the pylon. How does as a coaching staff, do you engineer opportunities like that for you?
I don't do any of that. You know, Coach Siggs does. But you know, it's game plan, knowing what you're going to get, and sometimes you don't. You know, they could have changed it up, and you might have nothing, Chris. But it's, you know, you guess right. That, you know, and you're hoping that's what you're going to get. It's 4th down. and you kind of have an idea of what they like to do, but nobody's 100% on fourth down. You know, what's 100% of what they like to do, this coverage or that blitz on third down and long. You know, sometimes sometimes you're lucky with calls, sometimes you're good with them, and you know, same thing on defense. I mean, you're making calls, you're trying to change it up. Hey, last time I did this, I want to do this next time. You know, sometimes you guess right, sometimes you guess wrong. But even if you guess wrong, if you execute, you can still make plays. That's what we expect, whether it's, you know, running the ball or throwing the football.
After all these years, I'm still trying to make sense of your depth chart and your wars. Last week.
I don't do. You know, I never touched that depth chart. EJ touched that thing. It's EJ's fault.
Maybe I should ask him the question.
Yeah.
But there was no war last week at center. There is one at center this week. What should I read into that?
I don't know. Maybe Blake will be ready to go,
Center.
or Craig will be ready to go. I should say.
Mhm.
Maybe Blake will be ready to go. I don't know. I put that or because I don't know, right? If I didn't tell you, then you wouldn't know.
So you're saying there's a chance?
There's a chance this week, where I think there was a chance last week.
Pat, does it take a certain kind of player to want to come here and play DB? Because you're going to do what you do, and they're going to be out there by themselves a lot, and it's sink or swim.
Yeah, I mean, if you watch college football, you see those guys are out there. I mean, I think it's more and more people are doing what we do, whether it's man-free or quarters. You know, I tell you what, you're going to watch Wake Forest, they play a lot of off quarters, okay? I would much rather be pressing than playing off, okay?
Why?
You know, go rewind that game maybe in the first quarter and see Marquez play off, and he's got that 6'4", 210-pound wideout, and he throws a hitch, and he's got to come up there and make that tackle. If he misses that tackle, it's out the gates, and we're going to be talking about tackling and how bad the tackle was. I would rather try to throw that fade and have to throw it way down the field than to have to make that tackle like that. It's not easy. I mean, you're 50-50 making tackles in the open field. I mean, he had from that wall to make a guy miss, and Quez made that tackle. That is not easy to do, okay? If you ever played corner or, you know, or lined up out there, I mean, playing that in Boston can tell you there, you know, guru quarterback over there, just what he would rather see is probably that off corner, you know, free access out there. And if you throw a hitch and that guy takes off and goes, it's, you know, a little spin move, little, you know, it's iffy. And I won't get in. Maybe in the offseason we'll have like a cover 4 clinic, and I'll explain to you just leverage by the corners and what, you know, the press as opposed to, you know, you watch college football at night, you watch in the NFL, they're all playing press. And there's a lot of reasons why, I think.
Pat, just looking at the game film last week from Wake Forest, did you see them struggle in a couple of areas where you guys struggled against Virginia Tech? Were there any similarities in your loss compared to theirs?
You know, you haven't watched a ton of that football. You know, Monday's usually my, you know, focus. You know, Sunday night and, on defense, and then you know, as the week goes on, Tuesday and Wednesday, I get watching more of their football, and you know, watching the other side of the ball, let the offense get ahead of me on that. But you know, there's no question about it. You know, Virginia Tech got after them, ran the ball, and threw it, and took what they were, you know, taking what you're giving them as well.
Has this system benefited this new quarterback in the way that maybe it benefited Hartman when he was there?
You say the new system.
Like, I mean, with not new system. Has this system benefited this new quarterback, I should have said? Like it benefited Sam Hartman. Have you seen some similar things coming as a result of it?
Yeah, I mean, you know, Griff's, you know, again, they played 2 quarterbacks last week against Virginia Tech, but he, you know, that's what they do. I mean, so they're recruiting guys that fit their, you know, Dave's been there, what, 10 years or something? You know, so they're recruiting guys that fit their scheme that they can get at Wake that, you know, that they like. He's a 5'11" guy that does what they do. So, yeah, I mean, I know you're talking to Coach Clausen, he's excited about him. He was excited about him, you know, when they lost Hartman to Notre Dame, and he's still excited about him.
Pat MJ said after the game the other day that maybe he wasn't where he needed to be at the beginning of the season. Maybe you read too much about the stuff people were saying about him. What have you noticed about him over the last couple of weeks?
Last couple of weeks, let's just talk about 1 week. You know, I don't want to go back 2 weeks ago. But he sits right where Jerry is, and I actually called him a little bit ago and said, hey, you know, you seemed kind of grumpy sitting in Jerry's seat last night. And I said, I don't know if you grumpy, you mad at me? You mad, you know, because we got after you a little bit? He's like, no. I said, he just looked like he had his game face on. So maybe, you know, hey, you never know. You read too much, you know, you have to ask MJ, but he told you that, or said that, I guess. So sometimes you just got to look in the mirror and go, okay, what can I do better? You know, it's like I told our guys, you know, when you walk out on that field every day, whether you're playing corner or you're playing, you know, right tackle, left tackle, tailback, tight end, quarterback, you know, right defensive end, it's an audition every week. you're putting on an audition. When you walk on the practice field, tomorrow there'll be 7 NFL scouts here. It's an audition every single day when you walk out on the field. What are you putting on videotape in practice? You know, what are you putting on videotape in the game? And you know, it's time to put on a show. And you know, MJ put on a show the other night. He had 12 targets, 5 PBUs, and a pick 6. I mean, they were. You know, I was wondering why they were going after him. They were kind of going after him because that's where Thrash was. So I think they were just didn't care who the matchup was. They were just trying to get it to the dude. So MJ had a pretty good day.
In recent years, your pass rush tends to get better as the season goes on. Do you look at this matchup against Wake, you know, who's allowed 29 sacks already this year, as an opportunity for it to continue building momentum and getting better?
Yeah, I didn't notice they had 29 sacks. I don't even know where that stands, you know.
It's
Just
the
worry
most
about
allowed.
defending. It's what?
It's the most allowed in the ACC.
So I didn't know that. I'll go tell Coach Partridge that he better have 7 or 8 of them, I guess, right? Or he, you know, he needs to look at what we're doing defensively. Right, Larry? You know, every week's a little bit different. I mean, they're RPOs, so, you know, I haven't watched the sack tape yet, you know, we'll eventually get to that to see how they're getting and what they're doing, and, you know, is it being behind and then you drop back throwing it. If they stay, you know, if it's a 14 game and a half, they're going to keep doing what they do, and they're not going to get sacked very much. But if you get up on them and it's 28-7, then, you know, probably, you know, that's when sacks come. That's what happened in the championship game. If you get up on them and then all of a sudden they got to throw it every down and they're not throwing it the way they like to throw it, is build a wall with those offensive linemen and fake that right up the middle and try to dink it all the way down the field.
What about Samuel Mobley? Those snaps in his career the other night, he had a big play. Would you expect him to just kind of keep having a bigger role in the defense as he's moving forward?
Yeah, you know, he's been getting better every day in practice, and you know, Coach Partridge called it out, you know, just last week, like, you know, this guy's getting better, like every week. I mean, and not just, you know, strip sacks and all that. It's more, and again, that was on a screen too. That was you know, people, you know, you look at that play, well, that was a strip sack. That was a screen. How many people get sacks on screens? But, you know, things like that happen when everybody else does their job. The other part of the D-line went to go get the screen. The linebackers had himself. Quarterback had nowhere to go on a screen. Couldn't throw it away, and Sammy got him. So, but, you know, again, that's a coverage sack on a screen that Sammy got. But, you know, Sammy keeps getting better every day, and you know, we expect his role to continue to increase.
Any final questions before we wrap up?
Jordan Mass played a bit last game. Should we expect to see him more
Yeah,
this season?
yeah, it's a great question. You know, Jordan, he was so excited. He came up to me, Coach, got my reps in. I didn't even know he was in there. Matter of fact, when you watch the tape, you know, I usually don't look to say, hey, let me watch how Jordan's doing. Usually I'm looking for all the problems and who screwed up. And when he was out there, I didn't say, what is Jordan doing? So he's just going to keep getting better. You know, we had our, you know, I think I told you Thursday, you know, we sit down and say how we're going to play the plays, and we go down through it, and you know, I just kind of talked to Coach Mann and said, like, give that guy 2 plays. Let him go out there. We're going to need him as we go. Just got to put him out there, see what happens. Don't put him out there for 7 or 8, 10 plays in a row. 2 plays, and then get him out. Let's just, you know, make sure he's good. You know, coach him up on the sideline and get him back out there. I think he had 4 plays. He's got an expanded role in special teams as we go, and we're just going to continue to play him and get him ready.
Will, you've got the last one.
Yeah, Pat, I have a buddy working on the story, so he can help me out here. They're going to meet to talk about scheduling later this week. The ACC is football scheduling down the road. Is there any concern as a coach that some of the historical stuff that between schools, like, you know, Georgia Tech and Clemson, for that matter, schools that are close to each other or have long histories together might be disrupted by this?
Yeah, I think so. I mean, I think everybody worries about, you know, disrupted. I think that, you know, the ACC is, you know, going to try to keep some of those, and you know, I think, you know, at some point, I think they're trying to schedule where you have, you know, again, I'm not sure how they're doing that. I have no idea, you know, really what goes on behind the closed doors, kind of. But they're trying to keep some of the things, you know, where, you know, we'll have maybe some regional teams that would play every year, but then some teams have nobody they regionally play every year, which is odd. You think you'd have 2 teams that you're always going to play for the next 7 years, and then see where it goes from there. But you know, I think they really need, you know, to take into account travel. You know, just to maybe follow up on your scheduling question. You know, think about travel. We know we're all going to have to go out west. They're going to have to come east. You know, so take that out of it. But I think, you know, we just got to make sure that, you know, some people aren't traveling too much, and some people not traveling at all. That would be my biggest concern is not the rivals, but like, you know, who's traveling, who's taking buses every week. I mean, it can't be like the Virginia, North Carolina plays, teams playing round robin down there every week. They get to, jump on their bus for 15 minutes and go play each other. When someone else is flying, 700 miles to get to their game and then gets back at 3 o'clock in the morning. So I think those are some of the things that I get more concerned about, more than I think they're gonna, they're gonna try to get the best matchups they can for TV, right? That's what everybody wants. I don't think they're gonna take away some of the TV things that
Are
everybody
you
cares
worried
about.
because, your two biggest quote rivals, and
Who are they?
historically speaking, are not in your conference, right? I mean, they're regional rivalries, but you're not guaranteed to play them every year. Are you worried that you guys might be more susceptible to, well, let's just have Pitt go over here, or have Pitt go over there, because you don't have sort of that, well, they have, Florida State, Miami have to play every year.
Right. Yeah, I mean, you worry about that. That's why, you want to play variety. I think travel's one thing, and then playing, one of the reasons they went to one division is so you could have a variety of teams you get to play. So just keep the variety going.
Is it hard though? I mean, this team you're playing this week, you don't play them very often. Is it hard? Does it feel like you're in the same conference with these guys when you see them once every 3-4 years?
There's no question about it. I mean, it's not like you're going back watching 2021 and 2018 tape on Wake Forest to see what they did and how they did it. And you're like, they've changed a little bit since 18, but 21 they're pretty similar, except who's playing the quarterback spot, and they do what they do, and they do it well. So, yeah, that's always a concern, but it's kind of where we are with these mega conferences that are 16, 17, 18 teams in a conference. You're going to see more and more of that.
Coach, thank